So hi, everybody, and welcome to our Wisdom. I'm Lynn Grodsky, and I'm the current president of the Greater Washington Society for Clinical Social Work. And Welcome to Our Wisdom is a program we've been doing from 2020 into 2021, where we get to interview some of our members and introduce some of ourselves to each other in ways that we didn't do before Zoom came around. It's a program that I do in partnership with the community branch. And we have some really interesting interviews that are up on the website, and hope you enjoyed this one today. Today, we're talking with someone that I've known for a while and like a lot, Regena Humphries, who's a clinical social worker. And she has an interesting history and a really interesting position right now with Catholic Charities as the program director for the Compass program. We're going to hear all about this, but for many of us who did agency work at one point in our career and maybe have moved on to strictly doing clinical social work out of a private practice or maybe out of a group practice, Regina's going to talk to us about this hybrid program that's being done in Washington, D.C., for wards 7 and 8. Many of us know that those are wards that are difficult for their residents. They're often people that are more vulnerable in those wards. And this is a real hands-on program that I want to hear about. So welcome, Regena.
Hi, Lynn. Thanks for having me.
Good to see you. So Regena, I always like to start when I'm doing these interviews by asking people how they got into this profession, how they came to be in social work. And I wonder if you could just talk us through how you got here, your journey.
Sure. So I've always known that I've wanted to be a social worker, even when I wasn't quite sure of all the different paths that social workers have. I knew I wanted to help people. And so I would say around 16, I probably thought, social workers help people, and I think I want to do that. And so through sort of just different circumstances, I wound up going to school and decided to select a field that I thought, okay, uh, I, I can graduate and get a job. And so I did not continue all the way through social worker, became a branch manager, which was still another form of helping people. And I kind of thought, well, I'm helping people with their money choices. So that's kind of how I wrap my mind around it.
Okay, well, that's interesting because a lot of social workers aren't very comfortable with money choices.
Oh
So I
no,
think
I
you're
mean,
different in that way.
yeah, I enjoy meeting people and I enjoy helping people. And so that was just another way for me to do it. And I started out as a financial service representative and worked my way up to a branch manager. And then at some point, it seemed that my interests and the bank's interests and the clients that I was starting to see who needed a lot of financial assistance, um, it just wasn't all matching up very well. I wanted to help people find housing while I was in the branch. I wanted to help. So at some point, I decided, you know what, it's time for me to make a decision. And so then decided, okay, I'll just apply and see what happens. And thought I was going to be able to maintain full-time employment while I went to school. It turns out that they offered me full-time education. So I went to a part-time status, and I was in school in North Carolina. So as soon as I graduated, we moved back to DC, and I've been at Catholic Charities ever since.
So that's, I remember when you first told me about this, and I thought it was so interesting because I also came from a business background
Mm,
into social work. And I feel like people that come from a business background or like a banking background or an
mhm.
accounting background really have an edge in a way in terms of understanding some things about financial needs and financial resources. And I wonder if you've noticed that for yourself too.
Well, I recognize that people have to make really, 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 really difficult choices with how they manage their funds, particularly when there's not enough. And oftentimes when they seem to get, say, a lump sum of some sort, oftentimes what I've seen, at least in the banking industry, was that, it just didn't go very far. And so, there is a difference in how people think about money. I think there is sort of this scarcity around money. I think, and so you kind of just have to do what you can with it while you have it. And sometimes it doesn't really allow you to make the right choices. And then sometimes it's just not enough. And I think that that's what I felt when I was at the bank. This is really tough, for whatever reason, there's not enough money for you to pay your rent. And you're now asking me, about decisions about how you should spend your money. And I'm going to tell you, pay your rent, and the bank will have to figure out some kind of form of payment or something for you to recover, because we can't give you a house. We can't give you a place to stay, and so you have to make, they're really, really tough decisions. But I've also seen it play out in my work where it seems like there's like some people are a little scared about money.
Yes.
We start talking about numbers and social workers, and a lot of people kind of shy away from it. I kind of, it doesn't bother me so much.
No, no. I love hearing you say this because I feel like, when I think about this or talk about this with people, it seems to me almost everybody has issues about money,
Mhm.
regardless of how much money you have. It's
Exactly.
depending on how you grew up in your family. Sometimes it was such an area of tension or emotion or divisiveness that it's very rare to find people for whom it's just another topic,
Mhm, mhm,
you know?
and I have to say, Lynn, I'm still working on it for myself, so
Aren't we all, right?
it's like we can read all the books about it, but at the end of the day, it still winds up being a way to exchange, right? A way
Oh,
to exchange goods. And
yeah,
so, oftentimes some of the experiences that you want to have require a certain amount of funds. And so, yeah, I'm still working through it myself.
yeah. But it's such an important topic because I noticed that a lot of clinicians, they have trouble talking about money with their clients,
Mm,
and especially if their clients are owing them for sessions, it's a really hard conversation for the therapist
mhm.
because they have their own history of money.
Right,
And
right.
so, like for you to even say that you just see it as this exchange,
Mhm,
that takes a certain banking experience to
mhm.
even see it from that position that a lot of people never got.
Right, right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Money is tricky. Uh, and because, we're not all set up to, I think some people just have advantages with it that other people don't, right? And
Yes.
so you see how that plays out. And some people just have more knowledge about how the system works when it comes to money. And so it's just a very tricky subject. And quite honestly, you see so many people there's so much media letting you know that there are some people who just have so much more than you do.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so what is that?
Very.
Yeah, where does that leave you? And so I think that we just have so many, different messages about it.
Yeah.
Wealth is huge,
Yeah.
like this is just a huge topic,
I
as well
remember.
as poverty. So it
Yes,
goes
as well as
goes with each other. Yeah.
remember I went to this early on in my training as a clinical social worker. I went to this conference, and one of the workshops was about money, and they had a panel of therapists talking about money. And one of the women on the panel was a really well known family therapist in
Mhm,
DC.
mhm,
And she said, I don't know about the rest of you on the panel, but I'm a millionaire, and everybody got very quiet and we're like very curious about this. And as they started to talk about who made money, how much
mhm,
they made, who saved money, she said, I grew up in a family where money was talked about over dinner almost every night. We had a really big family. and all the relatives would come over for a meal, and we'd all
Uh-huh.
talk about the ways we were making money. And she said it just became the most matter of fact kind of conversation. It was also creative, and nobody was shamed about it. It was just like another really good topic.
Mhm.
And she said, if you have that kind of background, it's not hard to see your way to
Mm,
making money. But if you've never had that kind of
mhm.
background, then it really is. And that I've always thought about that for those of us in the profession of social work, who many of us feel like, well, it's not really part of our mandate
Mm.
to make
Mhm.
money.
Mhm.
A
Mhm.
lot of us work with impoverished clients who don't see their way out of this.
Right. Well, it's also about what it represents as well. So, the way that that we sort of approach, even when we're looking for, when we were trying to assess our members to determine sort of what does success or wealth look like. Some of the matrix that we use. At the very top is this idea of choice. So what does money really give you? It gives you sort of freedom and choice, right? So you to be able to choose where you want to live, for you to be able to choose what kind of foods you're eating, for you to be able to choose. So it's almost as if to say, rather than thinking about the dollar amount itself, thinking about, okay, so what does this really represent to me? If I have X amount of dollars, what does that give me in terms of my choice and my freedom? So
It's a wonderful, wonderful frame to put around this. And when
yeah,
you say members, you mean the people that you're
that we
working with.
that we work with.
Yeah,
Absolutely. And I thought it was kind of eye-opening because the matrix is pretty standard, but I thought it was pretty eye-opening that at the top was not um, a dollar amount. It wasn't that you have so much food or you have so much educate. At the top, it was because I've chosen this for myself, and that's so empowering. I mean, I think that's what we all really want to be able to do is have choice and do what we feel like we're meant to do, what our passion and purpose
yeah.
is. And that's kind of um, sort of the philosophy of our program is just where and a lot having our members to make the choices that they see that are best for them. How can you reach those goals that you maybe thought was outside of your scope, but really once we start to build a relationship and we've talked about what your strengths are, um, you start to see that no, it's actually in reach. Like I can think a little differently about this, you
So
know.
this is a kind of like, I want to talk about this program, but what you're saying is this is a kind of conversation that you're having that's way beyond what most people would have understood about case management
And social work,
and
you know,
social work.
exactly.
This is really a kind of a coaching conversation or solution
Mhm.
focused conversation, and you are going into people's homes to have this conversation. So let's back up and tell me about
Yeah.
Compass and what this is.
Yeah. So in 2017, Catholic Charities developed this program that, so our CEO had a vision for a program where, people could really, social workers really walk with their clients, have smaller caseloads, be able to spend quality time with their clients, helping them to overcome obstacles. So incremental success, like over time, that we're partnering with people, helping them to achieve their goals. So not just the one-off, not just coming to us for housing or just for food. It's you come to us with whatever it is that you want to do, and we try to help you to connect. Like we connect the resources, try to help you to achieve that goal. So kind of a little bit like a brainstorming sessions, how we're going to achieve these goals, a little bit of accountability. Did you do what you needed to do today? We try to partner in a way that allows people to transform their lives. And so we don't have any time frames about how long we work with people. We work with people until they say, you know, I'm I'm kind of good now. Like I kind of think I have a handle on this and I'm moving forward. Really trying to create community within our membership so that they are starting to begin to sort of form relationships with each other because uh, our thought is, the connection. to people, because the foundation is relationships. So relationships between the social worker and our members, relationships between the members, like within them, within our membership, and then also relationships with our program and the community. So partnerships, seeing how we can leverage resources in order for people to be able to really achieve their goals and create sort of the support network for themselves. So it's really about self-sufficiency, but sort of um, spun on its head a little bit in that there's no, it's kind of the essence of social work. You come to me when you have, something that you want to work on, you feel like you need, and then we work through it. And so initially, those conversations may be something that's in the moment, something a little bit more immediate, something maybe short term, but we really have these conversations about, and so where do you see yourself, in a year or two? Like, how can we begin to have these long-term goals that we can assist you with? Um, and so, we've seen a lot of success in not I think what I've seen over time working in social work is that, you always have to, I feel like our clients always have to tell us their story over and over and over again, because there's so many different places and spaces where they need to connect. And in order to connect, you have to tell your whole story all over again in order for me to get the housing voucher, or in order for me to get the food. Like, you have to kind of go through this same process over and over again. And with a compass partner, and that's what our social workers are called, with a compass partner, you kind of have somebody that's next to you. Somebody who, we may help you access resources, but we're right there with you. So as much as you need us or don't need us, or we're going to kind of fulfill that role. And ultimately, it would be, I might help you with this conversation initially, but we're going to teach you how to have that conversation on your own. So it's really trying to empower people to be able to advocate for themselves. And quite honestly, Lynn, if I have to be honest with you, some I mean, even for myself, we have all had to know someone, or to gain access. There are some rooms I'm not connected to, but I might know somebody else who is. And so just trying to give people access to all the opportunities that exist is really important to us, to really figure out, how do I help my member gain access to a program that they didn't know that existed before, um, or even to people that have experience doing something that they want to do. For example, if they were looking at starting a business, like, how do I find another business owner that can have a conversation with my member, in order to give them sort of hands-on, there's somebody else who's done it. I haven't done it, but somebody else has done it. And so let's have that conversation and see what we can glean. Um, so,
So
so
impressed with so much of this. I'm really impressed with the idea of thinking about clients as members of a program, and just the difference that that word choice gives you.
Mhm.
And then to think of the social worker as a partner, that so that right away it starts a conversation in a very different way, it seems to me,
Mhm.
just by choosing those roles. And then I
Exactly.
was thinking as you talked about this, because I know that you have people that intern with you. So this is
Mhm.
like, sometimes it's their first field work position, or they've never done anything like this. And I
Right.
was thinking about how they now need to integrate into the community to find these resources.
Mhm.
And so
Absolutely.
it's like, there's so many layers and levels to this that seem so positive and
Yeah.
so constructive and empowering for both the member and the partner.
Exactly. So you're right. We have a partnership with Catholic University, and our interns, we started out with um, no staff. All of our staff have been interns that have attended, scholars who have attended Catholic University, and received a uh, full tuition scholarship for them to attend Catholic University for 2 years, getting their master's in social work, and then they work for the agency for 3 years thereafter. And I have to tell you, Lynn, the interns that we've selected have been very innovative and have a lot of passion and leaders and really do care about the work that they're doing. So different from other internships where the interns may not be so as central as they are in our program.
Yes, or
um,
as a
yeah, I mean, we started out with interns with like again, no employees. Um, so they have we gave them there was a skeleton that we had in the first semester when they started, they helped to develop the program. So did some canvassing in Ward 7 and Ward 8. We did community mapping, helped to come up with our slogan, navigated by you. Um, I mean, they laid down the foundation, and every cohort thereafter has given some kind of creativity or an idea to the program that makes it a little bit better. And so we have had, let's see, we just had a group a cohort that graduated, and I think that would be one, two, three, the third cohort to graduate. So we're really excited about that and currently accepting applications for our next cohort for next fall. Um, but what we underestimated was the impact that would be made when some of our interns are actually residents from Ward 7 and Ward 8. And so the idea that they're giving back to the community, which was the original plan for our CEO, Father Ensler, was that, that these students would go get their social work, their master's in social work, and then actually work back in their community, and just underestimated the impact of that. Um, because our members, really, it really resonates with them. It makes them so
oh, I'm
proud that,
sure.
that you're
Yes.
going to Catholic University and getting this wonderful education. There's that. But then also, for some people, they wouldn't have gone to school without the scholarship. And so also impacting our interns in that way as well. So it's definitely been it's been a wonderful experience. It's always rejuvenating when you have interns or new social workers who are just so excited about change and hope. They're so so
Yes.
hopeful about how a change can be made.
And get to
Um,
do so much.
yeah, absolutely.
I can
Absolutely.
remember some interns and some field work is just like not so good in people's social work career. And this sounds wonderful. What was it like for you during the pandemic this last year? How did you put the program forward?
Yeah, I have to say, um, my agency is extremely supportive. And, when COVID happened, we had our interns have received sort of like this foundational Zoom curriculum where our interns did a lot of role playing, a lot of different social worker concepts were introduced to them, lots of training. So in that way, because given that we're a community program, it was hard for me to sort of imagine like what is this going to look like, because we're not in the community as much as we usually are.
Mhm.
But we rose to the challenge, and I have to tell you, we've done an excellent job of being able to figure out a curriculum for interns where they're still excelling, even though they might not be in the community as much as we normally are. But in terms of our programming, I mean, we started doing food distributions, delivering food packages in March of last year. And so our interns were able to participate in that as well, which I think, if you think about it, it's kind of one of those tasks where I have to say, our folks were definitely safe, but what a brave thing to do, in the midst of a pandemic
Be a
to
frontline worker.
exactly, not knowing what how COVID, operates or what have you. So they were a part of that, and our members really really appreciated that. I mean, there were some visits that were happened when it was absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
It was very challenging trying to help some people to navigate systems that were only online if you didn't have the technology, you didn't have
Right,
the devices.
right.
Um, so if we couldn't do it by Zoom, then we went to their
Showed,
homes and did it.
you showed up.
Exactly. And I think that overall, I mean, our membership retention was the highest it's ever been during this period.
That's amazing.
People had a lot of
That's
need,
amazing.
a
So
lot of
what's
need.
it been like for you, Regina? Because it's still a new program and you're the head of this, and I know that
Yeah.
puts a lot on you. How's the year been for you?
So you know what, Lynn? There's some parts of this program that feel refreshing, right? Because it's so innovative in terms of
Yes.
how, it's very simplistic at some level, but then innovative at the same time because it just doesn't have the constraints that most programs have.
Mhm.
Um, but I've also had to stretch and grow. So I'm also learning very new skills for myself, having to do more presentations and lead more groups and more programming. So I'm definitely stretching, and it's been a challenge in that way. Um, but all in all, good because stretching means growth, right?
Yeah, and
Um,
so you're stretching into a lot of leadership, is what
yeah,
you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's been um it's been an experience that I probably didn't expect so much, but one that I welcome. You know,
So
I
I can remember when we first started talking and you were first coming into the program and you said to me, I don't really know exactly
Mhm.
what I'll be doing because it was just so new.
It was so new. Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so we're starting to get, we had a handle on sort of what we expect our impact to be, um, and really surprised, but um, it's such a positive. We can tell that our members are more hopeful than they've been when they, first started interacting with us, and having hope just allows you to be able to be more creative about your problem solving, help you to make better choices. There's something about being able to either call on someone or be able to learn those skills that you need in order to,
Mhm.
be able to make decisions when a crisis arises or something like that. So yeah, I mean, I'm it's been a really good experience, actually.
I'm so
Mhm.
glad. Is
Yeah.
there any way that you think that our society can support you or support your staff? Um, I feel like what you're doing is so important and so unique. And I
Yeah.
just wonder how we can give back to you.
That's a great question, Lynn. I think that, we are really trying to um, begin to hone in on sort of the poverty concepts and sort of the education around it. Certainly, some of our interns and our membership is giving us a lot of experience around poverty, but just sort of the scholastic pieces around it. And then our interns, I think some of them probably have joined the society already.
Oh, I'm so
Um,
glad because I know it's
yeah,
free for them to come.
yeah, and I love that that there's a mentoring component.
Yes.
So definitely think
Yeah.
that that's an awesome opportunity to be able to assist a new social worker.
Good.
Yeah, and then whatever clinical trainings, we mostly use CBT, motivational interviewing,
Okay.
solution focus is kind of where we. Um,
So if we had more programs around that, that would be good.
yeah, for sure,
Okay.
for
Okay.
sure. Um, but yeah, all in all, I think that we're yeah, we're moving right. I think that once we solidify with those trains, I would like for it to be that every year our interns are sort of getting a very similar training. So if, sometimes they're hard to catch. because
Mhm,
interns are in on certain days.
mhm.
And so sometimes it's hard to catch those particular trainings that hone in on
Yeah,
specifically what we use most often. So yeah,
we're
those
starting to create a library now
oh,
of when we do
nice.
trainings. And
Okay.
so that would be something else that we could think about is
Yeah.
to make sure that some of these trainings could be in our library for your interns.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that would
and
be
what do you
great.
think about staffing? How large are you at this point, and where do you see yourself growing to?
So we have 5 social workers right now. We're hiring 2 of the graduates, and so I'll have 7. Um, and Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm trying to, at this point, when I say like we started from scratch, we really did. So now
I
I'm at a
know.
place where I'm trying to create what our structure looks like.
Mhm.
And so, and believe it or not, they may not all just be, they might not all be Compass partners. They might be Compass partners who have a lens in some of the more macro areas as well. So,
Mhm.
because we're finding that you kind of need both in order to really help people. You kind of need that micro lens and that macro lens, particularly advocacy right now. Um,
Yes.
yeah, I'm starting to develop the structure. I'm sure I probably won't have more than 7 or 8 Compass partners at one time.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
know at one time you thought that this might be a launch program that would grow into other locations and
Mhm.
areas.
Yes, we're hopeful.
You're
We are
hopeful.
really
Yeah.
hopeful. We have had a fabulous partnership with Catholic University. They've been wonderful in helping us to find, interns that are the right fit for our program. We're starting to branch out a little bit and get other institutions that also are looking at us for scholarship opportunities for their graduates. So, you know, because Trinity has also been a great program for us. We've had several interns that have also graduated from Trinity. So, I mean, I think that, there's nothing at this point that I think people are really curious about both the intern component of the program and the program side of the program.
Yes.
And so I think that that's almost an obvious connection that seems almost too simplistic. But then at the end of, but we're finding so many people are intrigued by it. So this is really nice to see.
Well, I'm so glad we got to talk about this. It's such a wonderful program. You're doing such a great job. And,
Thank you,
no
Lynn.
surprise that you would do a great job.
Thank you, Lynn.
I just knew from all of our conversations that you were the right person
Oh,
at
thank you
this
so
point.
much.
And, I really love the idea of seeing what, if anything, our society can do to help support your work. So I know we'll talk more.
Absolutely. And I just wanted to say for people who are interested that we're accepting applications until June 25th. So if you have an interest and you want to go to Catholic University and are looking for a scholarship opportunity, um, Compass might be it for you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Lynn.
You're so welcome. And I know we'll be talking more, but it was really good to talk today.
Oh, good to speak with you too.
Bye.
Bye.
And for everybody that's listening in, please check this site again. We'll have more interviews with other people from our membership, and welcome to our wisdom.